Chapter 1678. He was starving? Didn't he just finish his meal in the cafeteria? Shui Yaoyao lowered her gaze, not saying a word. She had a rough idea of what was going on. But what she didn't understand was why he would suddenly do all this for her. When the others heard that Jiangzuo was Yaoyao's brother, they were different from before and were extremely passionate. In that case, we'll accept your invitation and accept your meal. Jiangzuo smiled. Think about what to eat. There's no need to think. It's our usual rule, skewers. We only got to know Junior Yaoyao when we ate skewers. Shui Yaoyao, who was called out, couldn't reject him. Immersing. Jiangzuo hooked his jacket and smiled at Shui Yaoyao. Yaoyao, call your roommates over so I can get to know them. Shui Yaoyao was about to speak. The senior beside her said, Yes, call Li Tao and the others over. We have been too busy these few days. We can still play games if we sit together. Shui Yaoyao glanced over. Jiangzuo smiled like a peach blossom. Indeed, there was no other way. After all, he was using her brother's identity. After the other three roommates received the call, they naturally agreed. After all, the two roommates had a good relationship. But most importantly, the senior said, Yaoyao's brother wants to treat us to a meal. All the more reason for them to go. But the siblings were in the same university, it was quite fated. Moreover, the younger sister came before the older brother, which was something they couldn't understand at first. When they entered the skewer shop, they saw the school hunk and a handsome man who looked like they were going to tear a mango apart. They were truly amazed by her beauty. That person had a pair of long and narrow eyes that looked like peach blossoms. When he looked at them again, his lips curled into a smile. You guys are Yaoyao's roommates, right? I'm her brother and also the new teaching assistant. New teaching assistant? Li Tao felt like she couldn't breathe. If she were to take a photo and post it on the school intranet, there would be many people watching. Sure enough, the school's intranet didn't lie. Her beloved teaching assistant Prince Charming was really handsome. Li Tao tugged at Shui Yaoyao's sleeves and leaned over to whisper, Yaoyao, you're really amazing. I originally wanted you to secretly help me take a photo of my teaching idol. Now I've even seen him in person. And he even wants to treat us to a meal. Most importantly, he's actually your brother. Shui Yaoyao calmed herself down. It's a long story. It's not what you think. You actually have such a brother. No wonder you always say you look average. Li Tao understood. Actually, you're very pretty. It's just that your brother is too handsome. I don't think you two are siblings. Shui Yaoyao replied with a and didn't explain further. The senior brothers on the other side had already taken out the skewers. Come sit. Shui Yaoyao wanted to sit on the right like before. Unexpectedly, Li Tao was very sensible. You siblings should sit together. Shui Yaoyao glanced at Jiangzuo, whose collar was slightly unbuttoned, revealing his collarbone. She deeply felt that her brother's excuse was useless. There were indeed many things that couldn't be said. Even though he was sitting in such a small shop, his Jiang family aura didn't diminish at all. But what changed was something that Shui Yaoyao couldn't explain. Yaoyao, hurry and sit, I'll go get the sauce. Chapter 1679. He shrugged. When the heat came, Shui Yaoyao looked up. Jiangzuo happened to look over, his eyes deep and shallow. It was easy to remember how he looked when he wasn't in front of others. It wasn't easy to get rid of a person's imprint. Shui Yaoyao lowered her eyes, thinking about how to talk to him. He asked while eating, Is the teaching assistant's surname Shui too? Shui Yaoyao paused. Someone finally noticed the problem. It can't be. Li Tao recalled the information she gathered. I heard his surname is Jiang. Jiang, then Yaoyao. The seniors were confused. They didn't say they were cousins, right? Jiangzuo smiled. I follow my father's surname. Yaoyao follows my mother's surname. He wasn't wrong. Yaoyao had started following her mother's surname when she was a few years old. But that wasn't the right explanation. Shui Yaoyao looked up. Li Tao laughed. Yaoyao, your family is really trendy. If I have children in the future, one will follow my father's surname, and the other will follow my mother's surname. Shui Yaoyao looked at the people on the table, not saying that they were going to start a family. It wasn't that she was embarrassed, but the atmosphere wasn't suitable. Jiangzuo sat beside her. After taking the skewers, he removed them one by one and placed the tender beef in her bowl. Everyone was eating. But after seeing his actions, the person on the other side paused again. Li Tao exclaimed, "As expected, big brothers are good to others. My brother never puts food in my bowl. He always snatches my braised pork at home. Yao Yao, your brother treats you so well." This way, Shui Yao Yao couldn't put the beef back. Moreover, she really liked beef. In the past, when they ate together, Highness Jiu would snatch it for her. "Miss them." Jiangzhou lowered his face, his voice faint. "If you do go overseas." She had been here for so long. Her longing had always been suppressed deeply. But at this moment, someone seemed to understand her. Even the person's next sentence was the same as before. "But I advise you not to appear in front of that person. You know how jealous some people can be." Shui Yao Yao replied, placing the beef in her mouth. It was delicious. Probably because there was someone talking to her about them. She had planned to have a good chat with him after dinner. However, the other party did not seem to be his usual self, and did not give her a chance to talk to him alone. Instead, when she sent them back to the dormitory, she smiled at her roommates. "Yao Yao, I will have to trouble you." Li Tao was now the most loyal teaching assistant fan. She decisively threw the school hunk aside. Sure enough, she still liked this kind of man who looked bad but was actually a siscon. Jiangzhou knew that Yao Yao wanted to talk to him, but he didn't because he wanted to give himself a chance. He would stay by her side, including getting rid of all those who had designs on her. It was impossible for him to become kind in this life. No one would be able to accept the method of chasing after someone. But he would not force her like before. If she didn't like him showing up, he wouldn't show up. Whatever she liked, he would give her. In the following days, that was exactly what Jiangzhou did. So when Shui Yao Yao pushed open the door to the dormitory, she felt a chill run down her spine. Chapter 1680. Shui Yao Yao didn't speak, just looking at the fruits. She liked every single one of them. She thought he wouldn't remember the things she said. After all, when she had told him about it, she had been very, very fat. At that time, no one would have noticed what she had said, done or liked. "Yao Yao." Li Tao glanced down. Shui Yao Yao came back to her senses and replied, "Mh." Li Tao sighed. It's indeed stressful to have such an outstanding brother. Previously, those people asked me how to get close to you, so that I could get the teaching assistant's contact details. Shui Yao Yao smiled. There were people who asked me for it in the past. But they wouldn't have been so nice. Li Tao continued. But the teaching assistant seems to be afraid of causing trouble for you. I saw him tell a girl not to disturb you and she almost cried. Shui Yao Yao glanced down, wanting to avoid this topic. But she saw the figure standing under the tree in her dormitory. He was slender and lazy, his playboy aura couldn't be changed. But this time he was standing there alone. He lifted his lids, seemingly looking in the direction of her dormitory. The falling leaves fell on his black hair, but he lifted his hand to remove them. He didn't leave, instead he stood against the tree. Shui Yao Yao lowered her lids, reaching out to pull the curtains. She wasn't sure if it had rained that day. It also showed him her attitude. Jiangzhou didn't appear the next day. But the fruits arrived and there were 4 more desserts. Her roommates ate happily. He has a sister complex. He definitely has a sister complex. If Yao Yao falls in love in the future, do you think the teaching assistant will beat that guy up? With such an outstanding brother like the teaching assistant, those who want to chase Yao Yao will have to consider if they are qualified. Li Tao smiled, touching Yao Yao's shoulder. Look, there is someone who has considered and feels that he is suitable. Yao Yao, our school hunk senior invited you in the game again. Work test. Shui Yao Yao went online after saying this. She had been looking for the small bug, as well as the pin jamming. This went on for more than an hour. After Li Tao and the others washed the clothes, they even bought the food. When they walked in, they tugged at her sleeves. Yao Yao, do you know? Does he have a fever? Shui Yao Yao's hand froze. Fever? Yes, I heard it's very serious. I don't know where he got caught in the rain yesterday. Li Tao's voice was low. He seems to be in the infirmary now. The classmates are all saying, Yao Yao, Did your brother not tell you about the fever because he was afraid that you would worry? Shui Yaoyao's eyes darkened. Li Tao's voice was getting further and further away. No wonder the teaching assistant didn't appear today. Shui Yaoyao stood up and put aside her work for a while. I'm going to the infirmary to see him. Yes. Go. After all, he was her biological brother. It would be strange if he did not go. Shui Yaoyao didn't explain their relationship. On the other hand, the school hunk on the other end of the line had asked her out for a meal. Shui Yaoyao replied, the teaching assistant is sick. I'm going to see him. Teaching assistant? This form of address made Lin Yang's fingers pause. He smiled. I don't think I've ever heard you call teaching assistant brother. Chapter 1681. Shui Yaoyao's words caused Lin Yang's gaze to freeze. The intuition that surged in his heart when he first saw that person came back. That person liked Yaoyao just like him. No matter how one tried to hide it, one's gaze couldn't be controlled. From the moment that person appeared, he only had eyes for Yaoyao. Originally, when he heard that he was her brother, he heaved a sigh of relief. From the looks of it now, that wasn't the case. Did Yaoyao know? Her brother, who wasn't related by blood, liked her. For some reason, Lin Yang felt that she knew. Otherwise, with her personality, why would she be so distant from her brother? Lin Yang had always felt that it was better to get closer slowly. But now he didn't think so. Lin Yang lowered his gaze, his handsome face, his aura retro. Yaoyao, let's meet. Shui Yaoyao furrowed her brows. Now. Lin Yang. Now. Shui Yaoyao thought for a moment and said, Senior, do you need me for work? Lin Yang chuckled. No, I want to treat you to a meal. Shui Yaoyao replied with a voice message. I'm sorry, Senior, I have something to do. If it's not work, I won't be going. Lin Yang didn't give up on the idea. Then let's meet after class tomorrow. I'll wait for you in the library. Okay. Shui Yaoyao had other things on her mind and didn't think much about it. She agreed casually. After all, they would often meet in private for data feedback. She was thinking about how to get into the teaching assistant's dormitory as a student. Shui Yaoyao had already been to the infirmary and received a definite answer. The school doctor also said that it was related to the rain. The fever is too serious and she needs to rest more. After Shui Yaoyao thanked him, she went to the staff dormitory. It was on the second floor of the old campus. C University was such a big university. There wouldn't be only a few teaching assistants. Shui Yaoyao was carrying some medicine and fruit she bought. If it really didn't work, she would probably ask someone else to send it up as a family member. It was all thanks to her identity as a family member. Isn't this teaching assistant Zhang's sister? Are you here to see your brother? Someone walked down from upstairs and smiled when he saw Shui Yaoyao. Shui Yaoyao hummed and asked, Do you know which room my brother is in? The first one on the left. I live with him. That person smiled faintly. I was just about to go get some medicine for him. Since you're here, I don't have to waste my time. I still have a courseware to write in a while, so I'll go straight to the library. Yaoyao stepped aside. Sorry to trouble you. We're all interning together. It's not troublesome at all. However, your brother is an exception. After saying that, the man waved his hand and left. Shui Yaoyao carried the things upstairs. Because it was in the old campus, the walls were modeled, and the stairs were of the same design as before. There was a slight noise when one stepped on it. There were 4 rooms in the hallway. Shui Yaoyao found the one on the far left and knocked on the door. No one answered. Shui Yaoyao furrowed her brows. According to the teaching assistant, there should be someone inside. Was it very serious? At this thought, Shui Yaoyao knocked on the door a few more times. Only then did he hear footsteps. Chapter 1682. Jiang Zhua, who thought it was his roommate who had returned, fell silent when he saw Shui Yaoyao standing outside the door. Shui Yaoyao looked at him. She didn't even need to take his temperature to know that his fever hadn't subsided. She didn't bother to argue and directly pulled him to the bedside. Lie down and take your temperature. If it's too high, go back to the infirmary. If it's not, drink your medicine. I'll get you some water. Jiang Zhua felt dizzy from her pull. When she let go, he lowered his eyes and looked at his wrist. It had been too long. It really had been too long. She took the initiative to touch him. She didn't want to avoid him every time she saw him. The interval between these events was too long. Jiangzhou glanced over at the busy figure. His thin lips were pale, and he didn't have the strength to speak. If she hadn't kept knocking, Jiangzhou probably wouldn't have stood up. Now that he thought about it, he was lucky that he had stood up and opened the door. When Shui Yaoyao walked back, besides medicine and hot water, she also wet a towel and placed it on his forehead. Jiangzhou finally understood why Qin Mo liked to use the trick of injuring himself. But until now, he didn't want to use any tricks on her. If she felt that it was hurting him, in that case he would just stay there quietly. As long as no one came close, it would be fine. Probably no one understood why he was panicking. He was afraid that she would suddenly have a new life in university, a life that didn't include him. And he knew what the school hunk had in mind for her. If he was just a kid, it wouldn't have mattered. But he could actually convince her to play games again. Jiangzhou was afraid. He didn't even have time to arrange things at home. He would rather give up the teaching assistant title and come over, even if he had to face the possibility that he might really lose her every day. It seemed better than letting his imagination run wild. But he still couldn't take it. She ate with that person, did game tests with him, and talked about things he might not understand. Now he regretted not asking Qin Mo to teach him how to play games. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. He was a businessman. There was a fundamental difference between him and people like them who had dreams in their hearts. But Jiangzhou had been thinking about it all this time. But he had never told her. His dream was to be with her. Want to get a person. He missed her so much. That's why he did it when he didn't know anything. I feel betrayed. When they wanted to retain him, they would use the most instinctive business methods. He wanted to ask her if she could start over. She didn't have to become so thin. Actually, whether she was pretty or not, in his eyes, it was all about her. Jiangzhou was really muddle-headed from the fever. Shui Yaoyao sat beside him. When she saw the temperature on the thermometer, she wanted to pull him up, but she couldn't. She could only make him drink the medicine, and then use the physical cooling method. Fortunately, she had asked for alcohol from the infirmary. There was a refrigerator in the teaching assistant's dorm, and there was ice underneath. She wrapped a big bag and placed it on Jiangzhu's forehead, moving it back and forth to lower the temperature. He probably sensed that someone was approaching him. Jiangzhou opened his eyes, his peach blossom eyes beautiful. He held her hand. Is it Fat Yaoyao? That's what he called her then. Shui Yaoyao replied. MH. Chapter 1683. Jiangzhou was confused from the fever. Otherwise he wouldn't have said such words. He wouldn't have let go of Shui Yaoyao's hand. But he really didn't think it was Shui Yaoyao. So after he said that, he closed his eyes, his pale, handsome face unnaturally red. One look and she knew it was caused by his high body temperature. It was probably because he was too uncomfortable. His brows were furrowed and his breath was hot. Shui Yaoyao sat at the side, her heart suddenly throbbing. From the moment she entered, she realized what kind of environment it was. If it was him in the past, he definitely wouldn't live in such a house. It was very simple and there were even cobwebs outside because it was the old campus. The room was clean, but it was a world of difference from the place he had lived in for a long time. It wasn't that Shui Yaoyao didn't think about who he was here for. But it was too late. Shui Yaoyao wanted to tell him that. But the words Fat Yaoyao made her pause. She didn't know why, but her heart felt warm. People didn't understand. So many people started to like her. It was because she had become like this. She learned to be confident, to dress herself up, and she was even 10 kilograms lighter than before. When she encountered problems, she could solve them and wasn't a yes man anymore. She made herself better and better. If she worked hard enough, she would probably be respected accordingly. But other than Highness Jiu, only this person, whether it was hate or like, it was all given to her in the past. She felt so inferior that she couldn't show her face. She couldn't handle anything. She was fat and ugly and even a little useless. He would smile and say, "You're not useless. I feel at ease, but you are really heavy, Fat Yaoyao." She liked this person. He was probably the one who gave her the initial courage. That was why she felt like she was collapsing when she was injured. But who said that he had to like her at that time? Shui Yaoyao's eyes landed on him. This person had given her too many feelings. It was so complicated that it reminded her of her youth. He had seen her at her worst. He had also shattered her teenage dreams. But after experiencing so much, Shui Yaoyao understood one thing. A teenage dream would always be a dream. And whether it was the unbearable you or the beautiful you, not everyone could accept it. So many people said they liked her. Shui Yaoyao saw the cruelest thing in the word like. Even when people found out about Almighty Qin's hand injury, those who said they liked him even wanted him to withdraw from the competition when he performed poorly. Liking someone was too easy. A single gaze, a single face, a single sentence could be imagined. When the illusion is shattered, there would be hostages who would suspect that Senior Lin was trying to cheat them into marriage. Just because he said that he was gay, some things couldn't be explained. The easiest thing to accept about liking someone was that it was the opposite of fantasy. No matter what, she couldn't deny it. Apart from the Supreme Alliance, he was the only one who didn't ask her how she wanted to develop. At that time he even said, "It's quite comfortable to pinch the flesh on your face." Fat Yaoyao. Shui Yaoyao placed her hand on Jiangzuo's forehead, her eyes reflecting the tree branches outside. Jiangzuo didn't know what had happened. His fever had reached 40 degrees Celsius, and he was feeling a little dizzy. If it wasn't for someone constantly cooling him down, he would have died. He was really going to fail this time. Chapter 1684. Jiangzuo sat up, the white towel on his forehead hanging to one side. This caused his gaze to change. Amidst the deep and shallow emotions, someone brought a bowl of noodle soup over. "Damn, you're finally awake. Hurry up and eat the noodles, I bought it from the restaurant." This time, it wasn't made with gutter oil. The person who spoke was his roommate, who was also a teaching assistant like him. It was also this voice that made Jiangzuo feel like he should wake up. He probably had a really bad fever. He actually felt like Yaoyao had come to visit him. He was probably dreaming. Jiangzuo didn't move. He continued to lie there, raising his hand to cover his forehead. "I'm not hungry." "You said you weren't hungry again." The person shook his head. "Young Master Jiang, you have to eat something. You don't have much of an appetite after the fever. Look at you. I told you to eat but you didn't. In the end it got worse if it wasn't for your sister." "My sister? What do you mean my sister?" Jiangzuo interrupted him before he could finish his sentence. The person was confused. "Your sister, Junior Yaoyao." Jiangzuo suddenly sat up, his voice a little hoarse. "Yaoyao, did she come?" "MMH." The person nodded, blowing on the noodles as he ate. "She just left and left you medicine. She said you were awake and asked me to call you for dinner. After dinner. F***CK. Wait. Young Master Jiang, where are you going?" Jiangzuo didn't turn back, grabbing a jacket and heading out. The person was dumbfounded. Does this young master know that his fever has just subsided? At this moment, Jiangzuo didn't care anymore. Since she came, did that mean that he still had a chance? That was the only thing Jiangzuo cared about. Downstairs in the female dormitory, there were many people with different personalities. That was because there was someone standing under the tree. He had a smile on his face as though he had just finished playing basketball. He didn't take off his wristband but held a bouquet of flowers in his hand. He was talking to Shui Yaoyao. It wasn't anyone else. It was the school hunk they wanted to see. "Since you have no time, I could only come." The man smiled. "I wanted to tell you slowly but it seems like if I don't tell you now, I'm afraid I won't have the chance in the future. You should have felt it." Shui Yaoyao stood there, not saying a word. "You said you have a boyfriend. I've been following the team for so long, but I've never heard any news of you having a boyfriend. After the assistant came, I was even more certain that you don't have a boyfriend. What I'm about to say next, I hope it won't cause you any psychological burden. If you feel like you can't get along with me after hearing it, then just pretend you never heard it. Yaoyao, I like you." When he said the last word, Yi Zichen was stunned. Almost everyone who was walking back and forth heard it. Not to mention that this was a female dormitory. How fast did the news spread? Some even covered their mouths. There were even people whistling. The school hunk confessed. This would have been impossible in the past. It was even more impossible for him to be waiting for someone downstairs. But now this scene was really like a scene that only appeared in television dramas. The girl he confessed to was truly blessed. Someone cupped his face and started to jeer. Yes, yes, yes. Everything was so lively and beautiful. Chapter 1685. Was there no hope left? He bit his lower lip. His legs felt like they were filled with lead. They were heavy and heavy. On the two of them, he saw youth and the future. But thinking about it carefully, what was between them? The hurt, the past, and the absurdity that he didn't even want to think about. Jiangsu couldn't figure out where his problem was. He really wanted to ask her. Was it his fault that he didn't know how to like someone? Now it was proven. It was his fault that he didn't know how to like someone, because he had never cherished or trusted anyone. However, there was only one person whom he was completely good to. Jiangsu lowered his eyes. He was a businessman. They were around the same age. But his way of thinking was different. Compared to their beauty, he seemed to only be left with benefits. No matter what he did, he had to consider the gains and losses first. How did he grow up? Ever since his mother died, he guarded the Jiang family. Those women who wanted to marry his father. If he wasn't a person who considered the gains and losses, how could he deal with them? He wouldn't allow anyone to touch the Jiang family's things. It wasn't because he liked being the young master of the Jiang family. It was because these things originally belonged to his mother. So in the future he would be alone again. Jiangsu lowered his head and laughed. This time he didn't do things his way. Except that he didn't want to force her. And there was another point. Maybe a long time ago, he was already alone. It was him who always lived in the past. He remembered when he was 10 years old. On Christmas, Chinemo stood at their doorstep. The person who usually didn't touch anything would decorate the Christmas tree like a little artist. This was a foreign holiday, and it had nothing to do with them. Besides, the Qin family valued the Chinese season more. It was just a small habit. Ever since he knew Chinemo, he would come once a year. At that time he asked him, "Why do you always do these things?" Chinemo said, "Someone likes it." He didn't need to look to know. Someone, but that person isn't here. Chinemo looked up, his gaze unchanged. She isn't here now. As long as I wait here, she will come back one day. At that time, rather than saying that he admired Chinemo, it was more like he was envious that he had such a person who could wait. Standing in the same spot, that person could see him the moment he turned his head. Many people said that it was not easy to stand still, because no one could keep themselves unchanged. Yes, Chinemo hadn't changed after so many years. Even after what happened to him, some things didn't change. But does anyone know? Some people had left, and that was it. She would never look back to see what she had left behind. Because everyone was becoming stronger and stronger, to create a new life. But there was only Chinemo. She looked back. She even ran. He kept retreating. It was all for the sake of finding Chinemo. After knowing that Z was the person that Chinemo had been waiting for all these years, he couldn't help but sigh. Jiangsu was envious. He hadn't changed either. But he didn't know how to cherish it. Therefore no one would turn back for him. Jiangsu turned around and walked in the opposite direction of the dormitory. He didn't hear Yao Yao's rejection. His voice seemed to have faded away in his ears. Chapter 1686. Jiangsu stopped in his tracks. As though he couldn't believe his ears. She lifted her eyes. Before Shui Yaoyao could say anything, she was pulled into his arms by the other party. This was the female dormitory. Moreover, school hunk Kai had just confessed. The surrounding people hadn't left yet. They covered their mouths when they saw the scene. What's going on? Li Tao was confused. The only one who was conscious was Shui Yaoyao. She felt his body temperature, it was abnormally high. She pushed him. Jiangsu smiled, as though he didn't care. He knew he would be pushed away, but he still wanted to hug her, probably because he needed some strength to walk out. But before he could move, Shui Yaoyao grabbed his wrist. What's wrong with you? Why did you come out before your fever subsided? Jiang's peach blossom eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of light. It was beautiful. Are you concerned about me now? You are my brother, even if we aren't related by blood. Shui Yaoyao glanced up. Jiang's leaned against the tree, still looking handsome. I don't want to be your brother. Tell me, why did Auntie Shui marry me and stop me from chasing you? Shui Yaoyao paused. That joke isn't funny. How is it a joke? Jiang's lowered his lids. I like you, don't you know that? Shui Yaoyao looked at him. You didn't think about chasing me then. I was so fat, didn't you? You told everyone that you weren't close to me. Because I knew Auntie Shui was going to be my stepmother. Jiang's lips were pale. I was a jerk, but I wanted to chase you, it wasn't a joke. Who else did you think gave you the flowers? Shui Yaoyao froze. You gave me the sky full of stars? Jiang's chuckled. Didn't you say no one celebrated your birthday? Shui Yaoyao clenched her fingers. Why didn't you say that before? Because I felt that you betrayed me. Jiang's lowered his voice. You knew that I hated those who got close to my father, but you didn't tell me that Auntie Shui had a boyfriend, that he was my father. Shui Yaoyao opened her mouth. That was true. At the end of the day, she was afraid that he would hate her, so she didn't tell him immediately. I only knew one day earlier than you. Shui Yaoyao was telling the truth. She was really weak at that time, but she had thought about telling him the next day. But that day, her brother started to have a stomachache, so she had to send him to the drip. When she saw Jiangzhua again, someone had dug out her diary and pasted it on the school newspaper. Everyone in the school knew that she had fallen in love with a high and mighty senior. People said that she was a toad trying to eat swan meat, and that she should not be a demon when she was so ugly and fat. She had only written those thoughts for him to read. She was well aware of the distance between them. I didn't have any real thoughts. At that time, Shui Yaoyao only wanted to make this person her goal. When it was announced, she really wanted to run away. And he didn't even look at her. She thought he hated being liked by someone as fat as her. Only then would it be that kind of performance. It was like the nightmare that kept appearing after she fell in love with him, and then it became real. So it wasn't? Was there something else? Chapter 1687. Jiangzhua replied. It wasn't until a long time later that I understood that you couldn't control Auntie Shui's marriage to the Jiang family, because I couldn't either. It's all in the past. Shui Yaoyao glanced over, seemingly taking a deep breath. Let's go to the infirmary first. Jiangzhua lowered his lids, not moving. It's not in the past with me because I still like you. Shui Yaoyao's fingers paused. Jiangzhua looked at her and stretched his hand out, his voice a little low. We signed a contract previously, and I want to renew it. This time, you can set the rules and I can do anything you want. If you think I was a jerk previously, you can vent your anger. But you have to be mine. Are you willing to renew this contract? Shui Yaoyao didn't speak. Jiangzhua stood there, feeling the weight of his hand hanging in the air. 1 second. 2 seconds. Almost 10 seconds passed. Jiangzhua roughly knew her attitude, but he wasn't willing to accept it. His heart felt like it was soaked in ice water. It felt empty and cold. Just as he was about to lose all hope. Too many scenes flashed through Shui Yaoyao's mind. In the end, it stopped at the scene where he called her Fat Yaoyao. Hence, Jiangzhua's hand was about to hang down when Shui Yaoyao suddenly raised it. She seemed a little impulsive. If you renew the contract, if I get fat again. It's better if you get fat again, then no one will snatch you from me. Jiangzhua was faster to cut her off. Shui Yaoyao's eyes lit up. You know I have an inferiority complex and my thoughts run wild. You should also know that I look fickle and easily attract women. You have to be wary of them. Jiangzhua lowered his lids. Just be wary of them, don't be wary of me. Shui Yaoyao couldn't help but laugh. Because of your looks? At the very start he had complained about this on the rooftop. It's because we have money now. It could be said that young Master Jiang was very straightforward. Shui Yaoyao glanced over. I can't guarantee I will be like before, let's try again. You want to return the goods after a bad test? Jiang Zhua felt a tinge of bitterness in his heart, but it was more of a new lease of life. I won't let you have that chance. Shui Yaoyao chuckled lightly. Maybe other girls will give me this chance. For example, when they get close to you, it's not impossible that you can't control yourself. At this moment, Jiang Zhua pulled her into his arms, lowered his body slightly, and whispered in her ear. We've been together for so long and you've slept in my office before. Have you ever seen my secretary with a girl? When Shui Yaoyao heard this, the back of her neck turned red. No. Jiang Zhua seemed to have hugged her gently, his tone carrying a sigh. It has always been only you. I have always only had you. Shui Yaoyao knew that she couldn't get rid of this person no matter what. Fortunately, things were different now. Now, when she heard these words, she would not lose her rationality. His heart could still beat, and there was a slight sweetness in it. So this was what it looked like when you liked someone just right. Indeed, he couldn't let go of what happened in the past. She didn't even know how far they could go. He was trying to give himself a chance. If there was no other way, he could truly let go of the past. Chapter 1688. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they didn't quite understand. What exactly did the two of them say? In the end, someone said that the teaching assistant had a fever, and as the sister, she must have been worried and couldn't care less about the school hunk's confession. As for the hug, it was easy to explain. After all, the teaching assistant had always cared about his sister. Only Yang, who was standing there, knew what was going on. Yaorao had rejected him decisively, because the reason was obvious. And he knew that even without Jiang Zhua, Yaoyao wouldn't have accepted him. He still felt indignant. But what could he do even if he was indignant? Feelings weren't something that could be forced. That was probably the difference between Yang and Jiang Zhua. From the start, Jiang Zhua had been forceful toward Shui Yaoyao. Perhaps it wasn't appropriate to use such forcefulness on others. But it was just right for Yaoyao. And because of Jiang Zhua's forcefulness, there was a continuation of the relationship. In a relationship, the person who was forceful was sometimes the person with the purest and deepest feelings. After Jiang Zhua's injection, Shui Yaoyao returned to the dormitory. When they first got together, they weren't as close as everyone thought. Even though Jiang Zhua couldn't bear to let her go, he had to send her away. The moment Shui Yaoyao entered the dormitory, Li Tao walked over in confusion. Yaoyao, why didn't you accept senior? Because we aren't compatible. Shui Yaoyao chuckled lightly as she walked forward. Li Tao scratched her head. I think you and senior are quite compatible. Besides, the department belle came to you because of senior. It's really unexpected that you rejected her like that. What's unexpected? The person lying on the upper bunk turned over. Yaoyao said she wasn't interested in the school hunk. Why, senior is so nice. Li Tao's gaze was low, her voice heavy. Shui Yaoyao glanced up at her. I have someone else in my heart. We had a misunderstanding in the past, but now, we are at the stage of reconciliation. Someone else? Who? Li Tao and her roommates exchanged glances, confused. They hadn't seen Yaoyao's messages. Why was there someone else? Shui Yaoyao brought the toiletries over. You will know in the future. I'm going to take a shower first before there's no hot water. There would be no hot water in the dormitory during the designated time. Shui Yaoyao wasn't lying. Someone was still waiting for Li Tao's message. What do you think? Was there any progress? Why did Junior Yaoyao reject our fourth brother? Li Tao replied. Yaoyao said she already has someone in her heart. Damn. No way. I always thought it was just an excuse Yaoyao used to block off the other girls. I didn't think there would really be such a person. Who else in C University could be more popular with girls than 4? I really can't think of anyone. Li Tao replied again. Teaching assistant Jiang is more likable. Okay, I know you are Brother Jiang's fans. Brother Jiang definitely knows who it is. After all, they are siblings. After saying this, the man glanced at Lao Si, who was drinking, raised his hand, and dialed a string of numbers. Hello. Jiang Zhua had just finished dealing with the work that had been transferred over. His thin lips were still a little pale. Brother Jiang, if you and Junior Yaorao are siblings, you should know everything about her, right? Chapter 1689. Yao Yao and I don't have the same surname, you know that, right? Jiang's voice was indescribably nonchalant. The person on the other end replied, yes, we follow our father's and mother's surnames. We think it's quite fashionable. Fashionable? Jiang's laughed softly. We aren't related by blood, that's why our surnames are different. The person on the other end paused. Not related by blood? Yes, Yao Yao and I are re-establishing a family. Jiang's peach blossom eyes lit up. We've known each other for 3 years. Auntie Shui married my dad for less than a year, and Yaorao has a biological brother, who calls me brother. The person on the other end of the line couldn't hold on to his phone. That's the case. Jiang's chuckled lightly. But I do know everything about her, ask whatever you want to. That person thought that although the secret he knew was too big, he was still shocked. But he had to ask what he had to ask. Junior Yao Yao said she has someone else in her heart and rejected Li because of this. Brother Jiang, who is this person? Do you know? Jiang's eyes deepened and he didn't beat around the bush. I know it's me. The person on the other end. There was a moment of silence. His tongue was in a knot. It's you? He wanted to hang up. What should he do? Jiang's voice drifted over again. There was a misunderstanding between us, because my dad wanted to marry her mother. I always felt that they got close to us for money, and I don't want to be her sister. Before I came, everything had been resolved. Now that I've been legally removed from my father's name, it's legal for me to be with her, and I don't have to worry so much. But she's a girl, and it's different. I hope that she won't announce this news. If you can keep it to yourself, try not to. There are many people in the school, and they don't know what is going on. When the time comes, they will only say that she shouldn't be with me since we are reorganizing our family. The person on the other end of the line didn't know what to do. The impact was too huge. Jiang's smile was low. If it's because of your Li, then there's no need. He's so smart he should already know, so I hope you can keep this a secret. The person opened his mouth. What are you doing now? We have already reconciled. Jiang's voice was faint. Didn't I say from the start that I came here because of her? That person coughed lightly. Brother Jiang, I'm not a girl, so don't release your charm. When are you guys going to stop like this? Junior Yao Yao is so popular. Won't you feel insecure if you don't publicize it? Moreover, there are more people who like you. It's easy for misunderstandings to arise between the two of you. Break up. This question was a little harsh and realistic. Jiang's clenched his fists, his gaze faint. We'll talk about the rest when her life is stable. That person shook his head. Brother Jiang, I feel that you're quite pitiful now. You have a girlfriend, but you can't go public. You're even worse than us single dogs who don't have a girlfriend. Luckily, if you still have to show off your love to Junior Yao Yao when you're teaching us, then fourth brother really doesn't want to do research anymore. Brother Jiang, to be honest, are you worried that someone will confess to Junior Yao Yao every day? Jiang's paused. That person didn't expect him to admit it so directly. Then he smiled faintly. I'm not just afraid of that. Chapter 1690. She's only a freshman. We can talk about this when people aren't so curious about her. Curious? Your school hunk confessed downstairs. Everyone would be curious about her. Why did he hear jealousy in that sentence? Jiang's voice was still calm. In the future, focus on your development. If fourth brother has any matters, get him to look for me or her in private. Ordinary girls might not have to worry about curiosity, but Yao Yao is different. Besides, people who don't know the truth will talk about her, so I hope that you can keep it a secret. That's not a problem. When that person heard this, he finally understood that Brother Zhang's feelings were indeed deeper than their fourth brother's. As for fourth brother, they should just drink together. In this state, it wasn't as if he didn't have the chance to snatch Junior Yao Yao over. Anyway, Brother Jiang wouldn't make it public. Just like that. It lasted for 2 weeks. The two of them tried to be together. He was really trying to do it. Jiang's would send a bunch of things to the dormitory just like before. But Shui Yaoyao's state of mind had changed. She would look at the things and smile, then distribute them to her roommates. It seemed like everyone would pay attention to their dressing after being in a relationship. Shui Yaoyao was the same, just that it was appropriate. In addition, the classes were getting tighter, and there were projects to do. Hence, there were times when she would grab her hair and sink back into the game during the test. Jiang Zuo was the counselor, and when he saw her like this, he would place a bottle of water beside her. He didn't show anything, but it still made people feel that there was an inexplicable intimacy between the two of them. The only time they could be alone was probably the journey from the lab to the dormitory. It was less than 10 minutes, and it was Jiang Zuo who sent Shui Yaoyao. I want to have a brother too. Li Tao held the pastries for afternoon tea, feeling that being Yaoyao's roommate was a blessing, although she still couldn't understand why Yaoyao didn't accept the school hunk. In the past, I really couldn't tell that Yaoyao was a rich second-generation heir, but looking at the way the teaching assistant acts, she is rich, really rich. Shui Yaoyao smiled. Do I look poor? It's not as high profile as the teaching assistant. Someone started posting pictures of the teaching assistant on the school website. He wanted to buy the same necklace, but when everyone searched for the price, it was 2,333. Li Tao shook her head. Oh right, Yaoyao, today is White Valentine's Day. How are you going to spend it? Why don't we invite the people from Senior Brother's dormitory out, so that we can get together? Shui Yaoyao took a bite of the pastry. I have an appointment that day. You guys go. He has a date. The other people in the dormitory widened their eyes. Yaoyao chuckled. Yes. Didn't you reject Senior? Shui Yaoyao nodded and looked at them again. It has nothing to do with him. Wait, I have a call coming in. The person who called was the laboratory, saying that they wanted to add a test at the last minute. After Shui Yaoyao hung up, she didn't even have time to eat the cake. She grabbed her bag and rushed out of the dorm. Her roommates are dumbfounded. Who did Yaoyao make an appointment with today? Because it was a temporary test. There weren't many people there. Moreover, when Shui Yaoyao was testing the details of the game, she forgot everything. Chapter 1691. Outside C University. Jiang Zuo found a restaurant. He didn't book the entire place like before, but it was absolutely quiet. Such a place wasn't something most people could afford. But the more it was like this. When the people gradually left, the more deserted the place seemed. The restaurant was an all-glass house. Jiang Zuo could see the lanterns outside from the corner of his head. These were all arranged by Jiang Zuo, including the pumpkin carriage in the courtyard, plush dolls, and a large patch of roses. Although the two of them had been together before, they had never celebrated the festival that a couple should celebrate like this. Hence, Jiang Zuo hadn't prepared these things in a day or two. Even the waiters in the restaurant hadn't seen such effort, and thought he was going to propose. It wasn't common to put in so much effort and patience just to celebrate White Valentine's Day. From this angle, it was really beautiful. A few couples who came to eat thought that the restaurant had specially decorated it for Valentine's Day. Almost everyone took a photo. But when they took the photo, they felt that the lights sometimes looked like a word. Yao. It was probably an illusion. After all, there was a carriage. There was light music in the restaurant. The waiter had come over a few times. Sir, I'll get you a glass of lemonade. Because he was a big customer, he wouldn't rush him to order. Moreover, the kitchen had already prepared the ingredients for the dishes he wanted to eat, and was just waiting for him to say that it was ready. Time trickled by. Jiang Zuo listened to the artificial voice that said, "No one is picking up at the moment." He glanced sideways at the retro clock hanging in the middle of the restaurant. It was already 9 o'clock, and their appointment was at 7 o'clock. The waiter walked over again. "Sir, do you want me to prepare some bread for you first?" "Okay." Jiang Zuo's gaze landed. Sitting there alone, he didn't know why the more beautiful the environment, the more lonely he seemed. The second wave of customers were still puzzled. How could there be a handsome guy sitting in the best seat, but there was no one in front of him? At 9:30, the waiter came over again with a troubled expression. "Sir, our chefs get off work at 10. Do you want me to bring you the dishes you ordered first?" Jiang Zuo looked at the emotionless phone screen. The waiter was also waiting there. Would you like to contact your friend again? Serve the dishes first. Jiang's sounded emotionless. Yes, sir. When it was almost 10 o'clock, the last table of customers left. There was a huge pile of food on Jiang's table. The ingredients were all fresh and precious. But he didn't move. He originally wanted to make another call, but when he swiped through his moments, his fingers paused. Someone from the project team posted a photo. The second day of the dormitory get-together. So happy. These two are really a pair of ill-fated lovebirds. They're still taking the test, but I think they'll have a chance after the test. Jiang's looked at the photo. For some reason, even his fingers felt cold. Not to mention the warmth coming from his chest. He did not wait any longer. After placing the napkin on the dining table, he stood up and walked out. The waiter looked at the table full of food and thought to himself that rich people were really wasteful. The other side. Shui Yaoyao didn't realize it was already 10 o'clock until she finished her work. Chapter 1692. Her first reaction was to get her phone. She hadn't expected the phone she didn't use for testing to run out of battery. Fortunately, there were many chargers here. After Shui Yaoyao charged the phone anxiously, she saw so many missed calls and messages on WeChat. She felt really guilty. Lin Yang had already packed up. He turned and said to Shui Yaoyao, "It's late. I'll take you out for dinner and then send you back." "No need, senior." Shui Yaoyao pressed her phone anxiously. "I'll settle it myself." Lin Yang knew that she obviously had a date. Actually, he could tell how important that person was to her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have looked up at him no matter what he said. Shui Yaoyao really didn't have time to care about others. After the messages stopped, her first reaction was to call Jiang's. His phone was turned off. Shui Yaoyao thought about it. It was too late to go to the restaurant now. At 10, it would definitely be closed. She went to the dormitory building to take a look. She wanted to leave but was afraid that her phone would be turned off again. When the battery reached 10%, Shui Yaoyao just came out and was about to run over. She saw a person standing under the streetlight, looking up at her. Shui Yaoyao panted and was about to explain. He pulled her into his arms, his voice a little low. "I don't accept any excuses that don't fit after trying." Shui Yaoyao opened her mouth. Jiang's buried his face into her neck. "I saw your WeChat moments." "What WeChat moments?" Shui Yaoyao was confused. Jiang's voice didn't seem to rise. "The photo of you doing the test together." Shui Yaoyao reacted. "Yes, I just wanted to tell you that it was really because I found a lot of loopholes in the test. I kept wanting to remember the loopholes, and the feeling of the experience. Gradually, I lost track of time." Yaoyao. Jiang's seemed to smile. "I know very well that you won't be like before, putting me first in everything. That's why you forgot." Shui Yaoyao didn't retort. She really wouldn't put all her thoughts into it now. "Then do you feel tired?" Shui Yaoyao thought for a moment. Recently, he had been the one doing all the work. Jiang's lowered his voice. "I will feel helpless, but compared to the current state, I'm more afraid of you and that person having something going on." "That person." Shui Yaoyao reached out and paused for a moment before placing her hand on his back. "Are you talking about Senior? It's impossible for me to be with him. I rejected him a long time ago. You know that." Jiang's gaze was deep. "It's clear, but when I see that photo, I still wonder why I'm not the one playing. You know, I reek of money and can't be compared to them." "You." Shui Yaoyao chuckled. "Can you be so jealous?" Jiang's glanced up. "Why can't I?" Shui Yaoyao stopped Jiang's with one sentence. "You are mature." Jiang's laughed again. Peach blossoms reflected in his eyes. "I realized that you are getting better at dealing with me." Shui Yaoyao apologized seriously. "I was wrong today." Jiang's lowered his gaze. "Shouldn't you compensate me?" Shui Yaoyao arched a brow. "Compensation." Chapter 1693. Shui Yaoyao paused, lowering her lids. MMH. She didn't think she would fail. She was the one who didn't. Without a doubt, Shui Yaoyao was blessed. Similarly, She wouldn't make the person she was with feel uneasy. Since they had decided to be together again, she had to show her confidence. Especially when they were having supper. She saw Jiang's post and knew that he had prepared so much. This thought intensified. Shui Yaorao had always been a gentle person. Perhaps in the eyes of others, she didn't have a personality. But in Jiang's eyes, she knew that he was understanding. In the past he didn't know how to cherish. It seemed that all lovers in the world were like this. After being separated once, they would calmly think about what had caused the misunderstanding between the two of them. Although Shui Yaoyao had been busy this time, and forgot about the date. But after this time, the barrier between the two of them seemed to have disappeared. To Li Tao, Yaoyao was getting prettier. Shui Yaoyao smiled faintly. Let him treat everyone to a meal today. Him. Li Tao's eyes widened. The person in your heart? Honestly, you guys are together now, right? Yaoyao, your expression changed when you mentioned him. Shui Yaoyao didn't deny it. I wanted to tell you guys, but I thought it would be better to be formal. The test is over, and we can have a meal together. No problem. We have to eat. They had to see who had defeated their senior, the school hunk, to become the white moonlight in Yaoyao's heart. Shui Yaoyao felt that she had to tell Jiang's first. She made a call. Jiang's paused, his lips curving up uncontrollably. Is that why you're turning me into a permanent member? Shui Yaoyao was thin-skinned, her cheeks flushing. Are you free for dinner? I'll arrange it. You don't have to explain anything. I'll explain later. Jiang's chuckled. Everyone in your dorm can eat. Let's go somewhere with a good environment and big portions. Shui Yaoyao was glad that she wasn't on speaker. What did he mean by everyone in her dorm could eat? But Li Tao, who was closest to them, heard it and asked in confusion. How does your boyfriend know that we can eat? Because he was the one who ordered afternoon tea every day. Shui Yaoyao didn't say this. Instead, she said helplessly, don't you know how to refute? I really can eat. Li Tao frowned. Why do I feel that the voice over there sounds familiar? Shui Yaoyao knew she wasn't good with words, so she didn't say much. You'll know when we're eating. Jiang's chose a private restaurant. Such a small restaurant didn't look expensive, but in fact, it was quite sophisticated. However, eating at such a place wouldn't make people feel like they were flaunting their wealth. Those who have sharp eyes will know that Yao Yao's boyfriend is taking care of these students. Li Tao nudged Shui Yaoyao. Your boyfriend isn't bad, but for him to eat at such a place, he can't be much older than you, right? Yaoyao laughed. What are you thinking about? Chapter 1694. Shui Yaoyao was about to speak. The waiter said, We're here. It was a private room by the window. Jiang's was already seated there. When he saw them, he stood up and took the bag from Yao Yao's hands, his smile still filled with love. Is there a traffic jam at this hour? It's all right. Shui Yaoyao was already used to such actions. The few people beside them seemed to have lost their souls when they saw this scene. Well, what was going on? Even when they sat down, they felt like they were in a dream. Where was Yao Yao's boyfriend? Where was he? No. It couldn't be a teaching assistant, right? Jiang's poured tea for them and after a smile, he told them everything that had happened between him and Shui Yaoyao. Li Tao's first reaction was, Then why did you come to see university? For her. Just these 3 words were enough to move the hearts of others. If the first half was said to be in a daze, then in the second half. Since they were teaching assistants and they had known each other for such a long time, it didn't matter if they ate a little more. Finally, Jiang's felt that he could hold his head high and be the first in Yao Yao's heart. The waiter from the small restaurant walked over. Because he was dressed in ancient attire, he looked like a waiter. But the waiter held a small tablet in his hand, only the size of a palm. One look and it was obvious it wasn't sold in the market. May I know who is Miss Shui Yaoyao? Shui Yaoyao placed her chopsticks down and glanced up. It's me. A customer left this here. He said that you had arranged to have a meal here and he would give it to you when you showed up. Jiang's eyes flashed. He even knew where they were having their meal. Could he be a scammer? Li Tao's worry wasn't without reason. Shui Yaoyao wouldn't believe everything until she took the tablet and saw the logo. Her eyes seemed to tremble. This was the Supreme Alliance's team logo. Shui Yaoyao's fingers moved slightly, opening the page. A line of words entered her eyes. It was this line of words that made Shui Yaoyao cover her mouth with her hand. Her eyes even reddened. But very quickly, she suppressed the emotions. When he raised his head again, his eyes seemed to be able to burn something. Jiangzhu didn't need to look to know who sent it. Spadesy. However, there were some deviations in the contents. When he saw the tablet page, he was also stunned. Li Tao and the others didn't know what was written on it. They only felt that Yao Yao was exuding an indescribable happiness from inside out. At this time, in waterfront city not far from Sea University, after the three gods of Xiangnan retired, they recruited a lot of new people. One of them took a very interesting path. Some students were very excited. Even when they were eating, they kept saying, "I feel that she is really like my Almighty Z. She is so handsome." Almighty T is Almighty T. Don't say that every handsome guy is like Spadesy. Even though I like Spadesy, I can't stand it. Ever since Supreme Alliance disbanded, Spade fans probably wouldn't come out anymore. Just because I dyed my hair silver, called Spade T, and was hailed as the light of the future, I have to be messed with? Anyway, I like them both. Me too. Spade fans should stop. It's so annoying to fantasize everywhere. Chapter 1695. It's just the same name. Are you going to cause a ruckus? The chef arched a brow. The ruckus is a Spade fan? If they aren't Spade fans, then who are they? The person who was called Uncle trembled. He was indignant. I'm so handsome and you call me uncle? You are the uncle. All right. He took a deep breath. Come, let's analyze it. This Spade T, right? It isn't a big deal to have the same name. It's normal to bump into each other. Let me explain. Under normal circumstances, we should resolve the matter. After all, Supreme Alliance has been disbanded and Spadesy hasn't appeared for 3 months. Why do we have to bring up Spade fans? As far as I know, a lot of Spadesy's fans have quietened down following Spadesy's retirement. Alright, your Almighty T is very popular, so popular that you can gather this group of people. Then let me ask you, do you have to disguise as a man to compete nowadays? Do you have to use the same name? All of these are fine. It isn't a problem since there are businesses involved and no one can say anything, right? The latter part was hilarious. Your Almighty T, the light of the future, hasn't even heard of Spadesy? Such a beautiful move, I'm impressed. What do you mean? The few girls glanced at each other. Is there something wrong with this uncle? The fat chef pointed at himself. Something wrong with me? Something wrong with me? Anyway, we Spade fans know that we are in the wrong this time. I like tea too. They all have their own specialties, alright? If uncle doesn't understand, then don't say it. He didn't understand? What didn't the world most handsome understand? He was from Xiangnan too. Ever since the moment he came out, both he and his captain understood. Xiangnan was no longer the Xiangnan of the past. And love. This word was so cheap. Most importantly, he had never been a real Spade fan. Yet he had to take the blame for someone who took the blame. He knew what it was like to have such love. It was easy to cater to it. He had never said that he would never forget little Spade, the days when Xiangnan and Supreme Alliance battled. But he understood one thing. That person, that group of people, no one could replace them. He wouldn't go anywhere to look for their shadows. They were vividly etched in his memory. Even though he was used to holding a mouse in his hand, now he was holding a kitchen knife. He shook his head. In fact, there was nothing much to say. After all, he was about to become an uncle. There was an indescribable pain in his heart. When Luolua left, he knew that Xiangnan's golden triangle was gone. When Supreme Alliance disbanded, he understood that some things would gradually be replaced. There was only a trace of hot blood in him. After all, they had a past. Now, Zhao Sampeng didn't know if he would still retain that passion. Perhaps it had been too long since he had been on the battlefield. It had only been 3 months. In the shop, the inconspicuous fat figure lowered his eyes and looked at his own hands. No one would understand. Why was it trembling slightly? Those girls who said, "I like Xiangnan so much, I like tea so much," would never understand. He hadn't been acknowledged from the start. To be the champion for 3 years in a row. Then the Golden Triangle disbanded. Our dreams have been broken again and again. Then they would stick back again and again. But this time, Zhao Samping didn't seem to know how to stick back. Or maybe he was really too naive. What was he thinking about? His hot blood couldn't cool down. Chapter 1696. The most handsome man in the world? These words made Zhao Samping, who was about to walk into the kitchen, stiffen. Something seemed to be faintly heating up in his frozen chest. Zhao Samping clenched his fists tightly and turned back. A faint light shone in. In that instant, fireworks rose. It seemed as though the sky full of light could be reflected in that person's black eyes. That person still looked like a youngster. He was dressed in a delivery man's uniform, his figure tall and slender. He wore a cap on his head, faintly revealing the silver inside. The youngster wore a black earring on her ear, giving off a faint glow. The brim of the cap covered the sharp side of his face. Only the shocking curve of his chin could be seen. That person's thin lips curved into a devilish smile. His feet seemed to be able to crush the galaxy. When he looked at him, there was a hint of teasing in his lazy manner. F***CK. That was Zhao Sanpeng's first reaction. He was so agitated that he removed his mask, forgetting that there was someone beside him. Little Spade. Why are you here? Why are you back? Little Spade? When the girls who were eating over there heard this, they all looked over. The delivery man raised his hand and took off his cap. His silver hair fell, shattering like light. The youngster pushed her silver hair to the back of her head, revealing a perfect face that was like a devil's. Her eyes were extremely beautiful. Just like before, it was full of disguise. I wanted to deliver a package in silence, but since you're so handsome, I couldn't help but show myself. Bojio smiled slightly. She stuffed her left hand into her trouser pocket and held a small wooden box in her right hand. She looked just like a devil in a manga. The girls were in a daze. Everything seemed to have been slowed down. Spadesy. Was it really Spadesy? Bojio didn't look at them. She walked slowly towards Zhao Samping and arched a brow. Almighty fatty, aren't you going to see what I sent? Wait a minute. Zhao Samping glanced behind her. It definitely isn't just you. Where's my nemesis, scheming Qin and shameless Qin? Where is he? Bojio seemed to be having a headache. Recently, he has been giving me the cold shoulder. A single person like you wouldn't be troubled like me. Zhao Samping. I'm asking you where he is. Not asking you to prick my heart. I really want to throw him out now. But I didn't come alone. Bojio turned sideways. A person carrying a small school bag walked in with a pile of food in her hands. These were all bought by her master along the way. This made the little girl want to sigh. But because that face was so beautiful, there was no emotion at all. Therefore, it only made people feel that the contrast was cute. Little Poker Face is here too. Zhao Samping went up and wanted to pat Little Bei's head. One must know that he really liked Little Bei. Bojio blocked him. Almighty fatty, this is my disciple. You can touch his head, but 100 per touch. The corner of Zhao Sampeng's mouth twitched when he heard that. Scourges would live for 1,000 years indeed. It was the same for money grubbers. Let's be serious. Why did you come back? Could it be? Zhao Samping glanced at the girls whose souls were clearly gone. Because of these? Bojio followed his gaze. Suddenly she smiled. That smile was truly bewitching. Chapter 1697. Zhao Samping didn't understand. He arched a brow. Because of me? Did you fall for my beauty? I know I'm handsome, but I don't have any thoughts of snatching you away from scheming Qin. Bojio smirked. Almighty fatty, don't worry. I can't admire someone as handsome as you. Then why? Do you want to learn culinary skills? Zhao Sanpeng's talkative nature was triggered. You came to the right place. Let me tell you, the tomato scrambled eggs I make now is very delicious. Bojio replied slowly. Those who have a partner don't need to learn how to cook. Besides, I have a disciple. Zhao Samping. He couldn't continue the conversation. You should take a look at the delivery. Bojiu smiled. You'll understand. Delivery? Zhao Sanpeng's gaze landed on the small wooden box in her right hand. He still felt that something was amiss when scheming Qin didn't come. What exactly was inside the small wooden box? Zhao Sanpeng reached out to open it. There was something that looked like a tablet inside. It was thinner and smaller than a common iPad. He glanced up at Bojiu. Did you make this? The youngster replied lazily. The main point is the content inside. What? Zhao Sanpeng paused. His eyes slowly widened. There seemed to be huge waves in his eyes. The fluctuation was so obvious that his pupils were shaking. When did this happen? 3 days ago. Bojiu sat there with one hand supporting the side of her face. Her messy silver hair fell down. She looked like an oriental vampire. How is it? Do you want to come back? Zhao Sanpeng suppressed the raging air in his chest. His voice was hoarse. Why do you want to come back? We have already retreated. You know how they treated Luoluo and why the 3 of us retired. Now that you heard these people, why do you want to come back? If you ask me, my answer is simple. Bojiu stood up. She tilted her handsome face casually. Come back. Let's shake up the esports competition again. Let's tell some people that daddy is still his daddy. Zhao Sanpeng paused. When he looked up again, there was a storm brewing in his eyes. The girls sitting at the side were really confused. Bojiu walked over, a faint smile on her face. Actually, I don't care what you say, but why are you taking the blame for my fans? Someone said he likes Xiangnan, right? The person standing in front of you is Zhao Sanpeng, Xiangnan. Oh no, the best tank in the entire server. He was the champion for 3 consecutive years even though Supreme Alliance defeated him in the end. Zhao Sanpeng thought. If you didn't add that last sentence, I would have thought that you were complimenting me. But he's still number 1 in the entire server. Bojiu leaned forward slowly, inching closer to one of the girl's ears. The people who supported us till now were never like you. With that, Bojiu glanced up towards Zhao Sanpeng. Almighty Fatty, are you going to reject coming back because of these people? I have always liked Luoluo because she knew what the world was like. She still had the sorcerer's support, and stood in the middle of the map. With her around, we had to consider how to break through Xiangnan. If we weren't careful, we might be controlled. She didn't retire because of these people. Bojiu stood up slowly. She stood against the light. She felt that her hand speed was too slow, and wouldn't be able to keep up with Xiangnan. She wanted you to win. Chapter 1698. In that instant, the haze that had been in his heart for a long time dissipated. From the day Luoluo retired, Zhao Sanpeng felt a sense of helplessness. The top sorcerer of the national server had to retire in such a manner. Other than themselves, no one could understand the meaning of the golden triangle. To the audience, as long as the script was the same, they would like it. Hence it didn't matter who left. But to him, it was Luoluo. Just Luoluo. In the future, no matter how many people came out, they wouldn't be from the golden triangle. Zhao Sanpeng removed his apron, his gaze deep. Let me ask you a question. Why didn't you get rid of those people? It shouldn't be difficult for you. Bojiu glanced over, her eyes bright. If I dug a pit for you to jump, would you jump? Zhao Sanpeng bit his teeth. Speak clearly. I say, don't you take other people's love too seriously? Bojiu's handsome face carried a faint smile. Some people like you today, but they will like someone else tomorrow. You aren't clear about it yourself. You and Almighty Shao retired together because you can't keep up with the current situation. There are people more suitable than both of you. They know how to take every step. That's why such a situation occurred. Am I really going to jump in and help them? Grandpa Fatty, some people like you because they like you in the process of pursuing them. That's why they say that you can't be replaced while looking for similar people to like you. This is very normal. If you use these things to restrict yourself, how are you going to move your mouse? Zhao Sanpeng's gaze dimmed. So, what can we do with some people? Sir Fatty. Bojiu's gaze deepened. Have you watched Animal World? Zhao Sanpeng asked. That movie. Bojiu smiled mischievously. Manga, we haven't finished fighting the war we should be fighting. We might lose one day, but we have protected our principles. It's not that we can't do anything to some people, but we don't want to become like them. Zhao Sampeng trembled. He glanced up. I'm back. All right. Bojio stretched. I finally completed my mission. It was a job to train my eloquence. Zhao Sampeng asked. Do you need to train your eloquence? Why are you the one looking for me? Where's Scheming Qin? This should be his responsibility. Isn't it the same if I do it and he does it? Bojio replied lazily. He's mine anyway. Zhao Sampeng chuckled. So what about him? Bojio tapped the tablet in his palm. Of course it's with someone else. Afternoon Rivertown. Kacha kacha. The rhythmic sound of the keyboard echoed in the air. It was the same in any internet cafe. There was a faint smell of smoke. There was also the smell of instant noodles. From time to time he would shout, "Dragon, dragon, dragon. They're fighting dragons." The network administrators who passed by were all shocked. Playing around again? I really have to be more wretched. Manager, here's a bottle of Coke for free. Wait a minute. The manager was a newcomer. He had only been working for half a month, but he felt that his boss was the boss. He didn't look like the boss of an internet cafe. Sitting at the bar, his smiling eyes, but in the next second, let you feel a different sense of oppression. Boss. Boss isn't back yet, call me acting boss. The manager coughed. Acting boss, there seems to be a lot of people playing Hero Online recently. Why is that? Why? Rao Rong's fingers stilled. Chapter 1699. Rao Rong was about to speak. Just then, there was the sound of the door opening. The manager turned to look. A person walked in. The man was wearing a dark trench coat with a pure white shirt inside, giving off a cold and noble vibe. His face was handsome, and half of it was covered by a pure black mask. Her cold and fair complexion and curves were like the finest porcelain jade. He seemed to have walked out of a manga, his legs long and slender, his body tall and straight, his eyes filled with a faint indifference. Even though the surroundings were noisy, he didn't seem to be affected at all. The manager was still thinking about how he looked like a young master from an aristocratic family. Why would he appear in an internet cafe? Just then he saw the man walk over slowly. The manager didn't know why, but he felt an indescribable pressure. He seemed too much like the final boss in a game. Sir. Before he could finish his sentence, his boss smiled. Then they heard their boss's slow voice carry a hint of a smile. Why are you back? They knew each other? The manager thought to himself that his boss didn't seem like an internet cafe owner. The people he knew weren't ordinary either. The man removed his mask, the coolness intensifying. Who else could it be? Are you going to chat here? On the big screen in the internet cafe was the 3000 knife cutting that he had used in the Asian Cup, as well as his side profile. The manager looked at the screen and then at him, his eyes widening. Almighty! Manager, my Coke! Someone stood up. However, the network administrator felt like he was dreaming. The hand holding the iced Coke didn't seem like his own, knocking against the table leg twice. When he came back, there was no one at the bar counter. Even their boss was gone. What was going on? He really saw Almighty Qin just now. He lowered his head and started to post on WeChat. I had a dream. I saw Almighty Qin in an internet cafe. F***ck, he's so handsome in real life. Very quickly someone replied. Bro, you were dreaming, that's impossible. Actually, it wasn't impossible, but the specific information about this internet cafe was only known to the fans of Supreme Alliance. After that, they said the manager had changed and no one had specially looked for it. But they weren't sure. It was Rao Rong. He was one of the 3 captains back then, the best team controller in the country. At the same time, Xiao family. Everyone was beaming with joy. Young master, wait with young madam. Madam and the rest are upstairs. They will come down after some preparation. Okay. Xiao Jing sat down with them. Luoluo's face heated up. Young madam. It had been 3 months. When Luoluo knew she was going to meet her captain's parents, she felt a little nervous. After all, her family values were really related to knowledge. Whenever she was nervous, she would say to Xiao Jing, It's all my fault for not studying hard before. Xiao Jing glanced at her, pulled her over, and lowered his head to kiss her. They're already very happy that I'm not gay. Xiao Jing was probably the only person who would use this excuse to comfort his wife. Luoluo smiled beautifully. Does uncle and auntie suspect that you're gay? Chapter 1700. Qingjing couple? Luoluo couldn't help but laugh. Both of you are very popular. I almost became a fan of both of you. Uncle and auntie have a different way of educating people. It's probably because all your attention was on Qin Mo at that time. Xiao Jing glanced sideways. I'm just studying my opponent. Is it that funny? A little. Luoluo always said whatever was on her mind in front of him. Her eyes were bright and her teeth were white. What else did uncle and auntie do because of this? Xiao Jing's hand didn't leave Luoluo's hair. He continued to tangle with it. You asked me indirectly how big of a place Qin Mo occupies in my heart. When Luoluo heard this, she laughed so hard that her shoulders trembled. He does look a little gay. He should record it and send it to Jiu. Xiao Jing looked at the person beside him. When he got closer, he said in a low voice, "Let's test it tonight." Test? Luoluo didn't understand. Her smile was filled with confusion. Xiao Jing's lips fell on her hair. Let's test whether I'm straight or straight on you. In an instant, Luoluo felt as though she was scalded. His heart trembled slightly. His face was slightly hot. Xiao Jing looked at her blushing face and smiled. It should be fine after meeting your parents. Why was he asking her such a question? Luoluo wanted to get up. However, he grabbed her wrist. What are you going to do? Drink some water. Luoluo's eyes moved away slightly. She didn't look at that face. This was simply against the rules. He clearly knew that she had no resistance against him. Xiao Jing chuckled. Here's my teacup. Luoluo took it. She wanted to divert her thoughts by drinking tea. Xiao Jing narrowed his eyes. I don't want to ask anymore. What else did my parents say? What else did he say? As long as it wasn't a topic of conversation, everything would be fine. Xiao Jing's voice was indifferent. Although Qin Mo is handsome, he already has a girlfriend. Let me be mentally prepared. Luoluo wanted to laugh again. At this moment, a voice came from the other side. Xiao Jing, what nonsense are you saying to Luoluo? It was Mother Xiao. Knowing that her son was going to bring his girlfriend, she was overjoyed. The Xiao family was indeed engaged in scientific research. Other than medical research, there were also some things that could be used by the military. They were all in the courtyard. This time, his son returned to the main family. They were worried that he had come back because of Qin Feng. One had to know that the last time her son came back, he said that he was investigating something for Qin Brat. Luoluo's appearance was like a savior. From the moment Xiao Taiying's mother sat down, she started to say that her son was boring, and that he didn't know what romance was. He asked Luoluo to be more tolerant, and even said that they were teammates. Then I would be at ease. He liked to play games. He said a lot. Luoluo knew very well that this situation happened because of a certain someone's previous topic. Mrs. Xiao had thought about letting her son marry someone from the system in the future. The professors had told her that the girls who did experiments with Xiao Jing were all very good. He was just shocked by his son's reaction. Every time he said not interested. No one was interested in telling him. Apart from that brat from the Qin clan, who could make him say a few more words. Nothing else would work. Mrs. Xiao was really worried. Now she looked at Luoluo's face. No wonder he didn't like the girls I introduced to him. Chapter 1701. Madam, it's a delivery. Delivery? Madam Xiao furrowed her brows. She had never called for a delivery and never bought anything online. Why would there be a delivery? Did you send it to the wrong place? Madam Xiao stood up. The delivery man said from the door. Mr. Qin asked me to send it here. I am from a company that runs errands. He has something for Mr. Xiao Jing. Qin. Madam Xiao looked towards her son. Why did Qin appear again? Was Luoluo his son too? Xiao Jing knew what his mother was thinking. Luoluo and I aren't fake. I won't use her as a shield. In the future, don't read too many stories. After Madame Zhao's thoughts were exposed, she coughed softly. Child, when did I ever think that way? Luoluo couldn't help but laugh. You and Chinemo are too close. Auntie can't be blamed for thinking too much. Right? Madame Zhao finally found someone to speak up for her. Xiao Jing glanced down. When did I say that you and Z are even closer? Luoluo. Xiao Jing stood up and walked to the door. He took the item from the delivery man's hands. He opened the first layer of packaging. There was another layer of packaging. He touched it through the bag. Xiao Jing didn't know what was inside. So he set his eyes on the tablet-like thing first. What is it? Luoluo walked over. Xiao Jing let her look at the tablet in his palm. His slender fingers swiped across the screen, and he clicked on it. Luoluo's gaze was clearly shocked. She tilted her face and instinctively wanted to capture Xiao Jing's expression. The emotions in her heart seemed to be tumbling out. However, Xiao Jing pressed the pause button. His deep eyes fell on her face. Luoluo urged him. Why don't you finish reading? Xiao Jing's voice was calm. I have retired. There's nothing to see. Luoluo was still looking at him. She smiled. You are worried that I will feel sad if I am not on the list. That's why you stopped reading. Xiao Jing's hand, which was about to put the tablet back, paused. His gaze deepened. It's meaningless if we're not together. Luoluo looked at him with flames in her eyes. How is it meaningless? Even if I don't participate as a member of the team, I can still be your fan. At the very least, I can apply for an assistant position. After all, I have a gaming foundation. I understand. Xiao Jing reached out and pulled her over, holding her in his arms. Okay, I'll go back. Luoluo smiled. Her smile was like a raging fire. Her eyebrows and eyes were like a painting. It was just like when she first appeared in front of everyone. Some people also said that she looked the most like the characters in the game. When she wielded a magic staff or carried a sniper cannon in the game, there was no one who wouldn't be intimidated by her powerful aura. Applying for an assistant position? Xiao Jing lowered his eyes. You will definitely be on the list. Before Luoluo could speak, Xiao Jing didn't touch the tablet again. Instead, he followed the instructions given by the higher-ups. He picked up the package next to him. He reached out and tore it. The thing slid down from the inside. This is a battle uniform? Luoluo picked it up. Xiao Jing's eyes lit up. That's right, it's a battle uniform. Moreover, there are two sets. Two sets, which meant. Luoluo looked up. Xiao Jing lifted up his black and red uniform, and two huge words appeared in front of him. Chapter 1702. Huaxia. Flamboyant and flamboyant. Luoluo could see the fire burning in Xiao Jing's eyes. No man wouldn't hope that his hard work and struggle could be used to win glory for the country. And this day had finally come. It was being reported online and on television. Currently, the number of gamers in China had reached 500 million. This meant that China's esports was starting to be known. But just being known wasn't enough. Many people thought that it was something that only internet addicts would do. No one would advocate being addicted to games. But if it was esports, there was no harm in giving it a try. Perhaps no one knew. In 2005, there was a champion player who wore the Chinese flag and won limitless glory. The host's voice came slowly, as though he was telling a story. Ever since that time, it seemed as though victory had never belonged to China. I believe that this year will be different. This was what the shoutcaster said as he looked at the screen. At the same time, Lin Corporation Building, a university classroom, a remote town in Tibet, an amusement park for rich kids, in the villa of the Feng family, and in the fields where the crops were being harvested. Lin Feng, Yin Huin Wuyao Coco Feng Shang Lin Chentao. All of them received a small tablet at the same time. He opened the tablet and there was only one sentence on it. 3 days ago, Qin Mo was summoned back to China. At first, he thought that he had to do some mission. Unexpectedly, his father didn't call him because of the military. Instead, he brought him ahead of him. Qin Mo knew that person. He glanced sideways and only gave him 3 words. I won't rebuild. Before the person could finish his words, he was stopped. After making a phone call, he said, I won't rebuild. Mr. Chinemo, are you willing to come back and form a Chinese team? You can lead our country's esports players and represent China. Chinemo paused. Me? Who will choose the players? Me? This. The person went out to make another phone call. After returning, he said, as long as the players are 18 years old, Mr. Chinemo can choose. We have a list here. Chinemo stood up. I'm not interested in the list you provided. In the esports battlefield, cooperation and winning are the most important. What do you think? Of course. But that person still wanted to recommend some fresh blood. These 2 are not bad. Do you want to take a look, Mr. Chin? Chinemo raised his eyebrows and scanned the paper in his hand. One of the Spade Tea and Flawless Luoluo were the top choices. He lifted his eyes and looked at the man. His aura was so strong that no one dared to look him in the eye. This is the name list you provided? That person replied. These newcomers are performing well and are very popular. Mr. Chin, I know you have feelings for some people and would definitely want to choose people you are familiar with to participate in the competition. However, this competition is different. I hope you can look at the bigger picture. Are you sure that's what the committee thinks? Chinmo's voice softened. Coming to me means that they approve of my choice. That person chuckled. Of course, apart from the competition, it's also important to support newcomers, right? Sure. Chinemo glanced sideways. Let the 2 of them team up and defeat Bei. That person paused. Isn't it a little difficult? Aren't you going to support a newcomer? Chinmo's gaze deepened. Perhaps I can guide him personally. Chapter 1703. Chinemo glanced over. The curve of his chin was still beautiful. What is this? That person smiled. These 2 people are inexperienced, but they have potential. When they get used to it, we will let them fight with Mr. Chinemo, sure. Chinemo stuffed a hand into his trouser pocket and walked over. Tell the committee that we can talk about the competition when you are fired. That person's face stiffened. Mr. Chinemo, are you determined to suppress the newcomers? Suppress? Chinemo glanced down and suddenly laughed. There was a layer of coldness in his eyes. I hate people like you who tamper with things but still act righteously. That person changed his words quickly. Mr. Chinemo, indeed, if my suggestion doesn't agree with you, you can choose not to accept it, but you don't have to say that. After all, I like you guys very much. Chinemo stuffed a hand into his pocket and said faintly, Oh, if you like me, then it's easy. Get lost and I will be back. That person immediately flicked his sleeves and left. He made a phone call as he walked, saying that Chinemo wasn't willing to fight. He was too arrogant and he couldn't persuade him. Chinmo's expression didn't change as he listened. After a few minutes, that person was dragged back. Chinemo adjusted his sleeves and looked at him. His gaze was faint but cold. That person wanted to jump up. Chinemo walked in front of him, holding his phone in his right hand. He made a call in front of that person. That person's face turned pale when he saw the number he dialed. Mr. Chinemo, hello. Chinemo didn't bother with him, his voice calm. Mr. Zhang, it's me. I heard from Mr. Yang that you aren't willing to fight. Is there something you haven't resolved? The voice was still regretful. Chinmo's gaze landed on that person's forehead, watching his unconscious uneasiness. His emotions didn't change. Mr. Yang introduced 2 newcomers to me. After listening to them, I decided to find them to fight first. According to Mr. Yang, the old people are no longer able to make it, and it's time to add in new blood. Otherwise, the old people will be attacking the newcomers. Once Mr. Zhang heard this, he knew that his subordinates had messed things up. Why did they look for Chinemo? Did Mr. Yang understand? Other than him, no one else could carry the banner of China's esports. Chinemo was the only one who could bring them back. Why are you stuffing people in at this critical juncture? President Zhang did know what was going on. It was normal for the clubs and teams to want to surpass Supreme Alliance. It was impossible to remain the same. But this kind of thing could be done normally. This was a huge competition. Did Director Yang not know? President Zhang took a deep breath and said, "When he comes back, I will get him to hand in his resignation." Of course I have to hand in my resignation. Qin Mo's voice didn't change. But I thought about it. Miss Yang is right about one thing. This is an international competition. You can't just choose someone based on seniority. If you want to join, you have to show your capabilities. Since Miss Yang thinks that we seniors are suppressing the newcomers, I'm afraid some of their fans are the same. When Head Yang heard this, he didn't understand. Was he speaking up for him? President Zhang frowned. What do you want to do? Chapter 1704. That Director Yang's expression changed instantly. He wanted to reject. No matter what people said, these two people had their own characteristics. They were the future of esports and had nothing to do with Spade Z and Luoluo. They just had similar names and used the same trick. But Director Yang knew that those who watched their competition knew that Spade Z and Luoluo were in it. Since so many people like Spade Z, there must be something good about her. On the other hand, Luoluo had a topic to talk about. He had chosen these two people because they were smart and had found each other's characteristics. Many people thought that it wasn't smart for them to say, "We don't know Spade Z and Luoluo. Spade Z and Luoluo's fans, please leave." But in reality, it was smart. It didn't matter if Spade Z and Luoluo's fans went or not. Once these words were said, they would be bound. They would be bound to Spade Z and Luoluo so naturally, they would be popular. Moreover, everyone would think that Spade Z and Luoluo's fans were jumping around. To put it bluntly, it was just one sentence. They really hoped that Spade Z's fans would cause trouble. Unfortunately, Spade Z's fans were silent and didn't cause trouble. If that was the case, there would be more than this number of fans. If Qin Mo used his main account to fight with these two people, Director Yang would definitely not reject him. Anyway, even if he lost, the topic would be brought up. Their popularity would only increase and not decrease. But now, Qin Mo wanted to use his secondary account to fight with them during their live stream. This was really a slap in the face. Director Yang panicked. He didn't care that the phone was in Qin Mo's hands and shouted, "President, this is too much of a blow to the newbies' enthusiasm. It isn't a good idea." Qin Mo glanced over calmly. His voice was still emotionless. "So, President Zhang, what do you plan to do?" President Zhang took a deep breath. "I understand. I will send someone else over. Gather everyone. 3 days later, they will be live streaming and you will go and fight." When Director Yang heard this, he was instantly dispirited. How was he going to develop in the future? Guildmaster Zhang also rubbed his head. Just when did such a problem appear down there? He roughly knew what Director Yang was thinking. It was just that he had taken the wrong path and chosen the wrong place. They were going to represent the country in the competition. President Zhang thought that by saying this they would calm down. But Qin Mo was Qin Mo. As smart as he was, he had long seen through these things. He looked up and said, "Shall I gather everyone?" President Zhang paused. "No, you make a name list. I'll get them to invite them back." "President, you know it, but Dean Yang doesn't seem to understand something. Regardless of whether it's me or the others, this battle is for China. If it was just for you guys, no one would have come back." For the first time, Guild leader Zhang tasted the feeling of not being able to speak. All sorts of feelings welled up in his heart. Qin Mo glanced at Mr. Yang, his expression unchanged. "You should be glad that we have China as an excuse this time. Otherwise, I would have chased someone like you out." Mr. Yang only felt angry. However, President Zhang, who was on the other end of the phone, felt a chill run down his spine when he heard the commotion on the other end. He knew that Qin Mo wasn't just talking to Mr. Yang, but to him as well. For the country, they would definitely go to war. But don't even think about doing anything here. Chapter 1705. Now 3 days had passed. Everyone had received their own summons. Qin Mo brought Rao Rong out of the internet cafe. They didn't go anywhere. After boarding the car, Qin Mo tossed Rao Rong a uniform. "Follow me to a game." Rao Rong arched a brow. You? Personally? Chin Mo replied faintly, MMH. Rao Rong was surprised. Who would make you fight personally? Flies. Chin Mo glanced over. Clean them up before everyone comes back. Rao Rong. He was wrong. He had thought this person would be kinder after 3 months of absence. It seemed like his poisonous tongue couldn't be changed. The journey from the internet cafe to the building took less than half an hour. Rao Rong glanced up. This will be our future base. It seems a little serious. Can we order instant noodles in the future? Yes. Chin Mo was used to these people's strange requests. Feng Yi had moved into the building the day before. Many things had been arranged. Eating instant noodles wouldn't be difficult. Rao Rong knew that this competition would be different from the previous ones. They would receive comprehensive attention. But the facilities in the base surprised Rao Rong. There's even a gym? When the competition is intense, you will need to maintain your stamina. If you go overseas, you will need to adjust to the time difference. Chin Mo glanced over. In the future, your fitness and resistance will be monitored. Rao Rong chuckled lightly. Not bad. Chin Mo glanced at him. He didn't mention the other conditions. They weren't officially registered yet. The details would be announced once everything was stabilized, to prevent them from escaping. It's about time. Chin Mo stuffed a hand into his pocket, glancing at the watch on his wrist. Let's go to the training room. Was he going to start playing? Rao Rong replied. Alright, I'll try out the new keyboard. The new base was huge. It was actually in the building. Both the training room and the gym were huge, and the planning was reasonable. After training, they could go to the gym next door. While working out, they could also see the situation in the training room. There were a total of 12 computers. They were placed there generously. There was a distance between each one, but it wasn't too far. The chairs had been specially adjusted by someone. It was so that the neck wouldn't be too stiff even if they sat for 24 hours. Rao Rong felt it the moment he sat down. It's comfortable. Chin Mo switched on a computer, removed his headphones, and placed them on his black hair. The sound produced by the mechanical keyboard was different from that of an ordinary keyboard. After Rao Rong was done, he turned towards Chin Mo. Chin Mo glanced at the game page. Give me an alternate account. He did have quite a few Smurfs on hand. Rao Rong casually mentioned one. After Chin Mo logged in, he glanced at the message on his phone. Then he opened a live streaming app. The more Rao Rong watched, the more curious he got. When did you start following the trend and watching live streams? I didn't. Chin Mo's gaze landed on the screen. Understand it now. Rao Rong was about to continue when he saw an ID appear on the livestream screen. Spade Tea? Ever since the Supreme Alliance disbanded, Rao Rong didn't watch the video again. Most of the customers were boys. Boys look at technique. Only by entering the server's ranking would he attract their attention. For example, at that time, Spade Z, the one who would get the first kill the moment she made a move. Every day, everyone in Zone C would see that person's ID. It was growing at an unbelievable speed, be it the hidden boss or the first kill of an instance. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.